Yeah, it's frustrating for me to see people expressing that they feel that there's one necessary solution and that it's more just regulation there doesn't seem to be a lot of talk about enforcement.
The chemical company, they filed bankruptcy.
There's a really interesting story behind that, too. Chapter 11, my understanding, the way it's been reported in the articles that I've read, is a specific kind of bankruptcy where another company comes in to fund the bankruptcy and take control of the assets of that company. The company that was brought in to fund the bankruptcy of Freedom Industries was created the day before they filed, and it was created by the CEO of Freedom Industries. By the CEO of Freedom Industries. This company is the same people, but all they have to do is create another corporation and take themselves over, and I'm guessing that they're doing this legally. Otherwise, there wouldn't really be much point in it. Just goes to show how corporate law is it's not the problem itself isn't corporations, in my opinion. Well, it is, because corporations are literally a tool created by the government to protect those people who are forming the corporations. I don't think that being shielded from liability is something that should be offered to anyone. There was one interview, and if you search it on YouTube, I'm not sure what keywords you would need to use, Freedom Industries CEO interview, but the local news did interview him, and no, it wasn't really any kind of an apology. He was obviously under a great deal of stress, and it was just a lot of non-answers to questions that the reporter asked. Yeah, and it was kind of comical because, he tried to just cut the interview short in the middle of the interview and say, that's all I've got time for, and started walking away. And the reporter said, no, we're not done here, and called him back. And he kind of realized as he was walking away that it would look really bad for him to just turn and walk away in the middle of the interview. So he came back and he talked some more, but he was just talking in circles. And, but the way I see it is the laws are set up to make corporations be shielded from liability, so why should they not feel like they deserve to be shielded from liability? That's what was promised to them by the government, that they were forced to file these letters of incorporation. When they did this, that was the deal they got. They make a pact with the government. It's like, we do this, we sign these papers of incorporation, and we're going to pay this and this and this, these incorporation fees, and we're going to give you this money in tax revenue and quite possibly campaign contributions as well. And in exchange for that, if anything ever goes wrong, you allow us to just walk away from our responsibility. Why would an entity not want to take advantage of that? And to me, that it's only logical. Human beings operate on incentives, and people tend, a lot of people in West Virginia are saying, oh, we need more regulation. Well, there was regulation already on the books that could have prevented this, and it just wasn't enforced. And so people cry for more regulation. Legislators spring into action and write a whole bunch of new laws, and then you'll probably piggyback some other pet projects onto most things, and then that gets through and we all feel better. And if enforcement doesn't happen, what good does it do? It makes the legislators look good in a press conference, and it might make the people feel better, but it doesn't do anything. If these laws weren't set up to shield corporations from liability, perhaps the corporations would be more responsible and self-regulating. If they knew that they would lose everything, that they would get sued for every asset that they had if they were not able to do this little Chapter 11 bankruptcy trick, they'd probably be more cautious. They'd probably want to protect their investment. I mean, that chemical, that was their business. They sell that stuff. You know, so a company that sells something, they don't want it to spill in the river. But to maintain those things, and if there's no enforcement to have things inspected, and if there's an easy out, then they're probably not going to. And, you know, frustrated when I hear all the people wanting me to, you know, get behind them and rallying support for just more regulation, more legislation, and that being the answer, because I think we can see that, you know, there's been no shortage of legislation on any level of government. It's always just more and more and more and more. The United States has more laws than any other country by far, and it's just words on paper. It doesn't do anything.